All right, privilege headline: Privilege walk, sexual assault allegation fuel ASMSA investigation. Folks, last week, State Representative Brant Smith, a Republican from Jonesboro, interviewed on this program and revealed some disturbing allegations concerning the Arkansas School for Mathematics, Science, and the Arts. Smith said many parents had strong concerns about the policies of the ASMSA administration have enforced, in some instances not enforced. At least one of Smith's constituents have a child that attend the school in Hot Springs, and as a result of the many allegations, one detailing a sexual assault where the administration failed to notify authorities, Smith says several legislators are investigating and want to bring ASMSA officials before the legislature's Joint Performance Review Committee to answer questions. One instance reportedly alarming to parents and students deals with a school-sanctioned privilege walk where students are forced to answer questions about their family and socioeconomic status. The students are instructed to take steps forward or backward depending on answers to questions like, do you live in a two-parent household? According to emails obtained by Conduit News, the exercise is a mandatory program apparently designed to single out the differences between students so they understand who has privilege and who is a supposed victim. Obviously, this is disturbing because this is a political issue, and the Arkansas School for Maths and Science and the Arts is a taxpayer-funded institution. Why can't they just teach reading and writing and arithmetic and leave the politics at the door? Joining us now, we have someone who's been following this even, I guess, more closely than I have. His name is Reggie Cowan. He's a resident of Hot Springs, where the school is located. Reggie, how are you?
Good morning, Paul.
It's good to have you. So tell us, Reggie, where were you when you first heard this? Because I understand that the local community down there in Hot Springs, you guys have been, there's been letters to the editor written over this. This is something that's been boiling for a long time.
Correct. This started back in September. I met a young lady during Jan Morgan for Governor campaign that had a child that was a student there. He was a senior. And she sent me an email during that time and said that the school sends out emails to the students and parents, and they notified them of a political event for a Democrat, Hayden Schammel, that was running against Bruce Westerman. And that kind of raised my eyebrows, and I took that information to our local newspaper, to the editor. He said, yeah, that was an ethics violation, and he sent a reporter out, and I wrote a letter to the editor. But during that time, I've been a member of the Garland County Tea Party since the inception, April 15th, 2009. And under the banner of Citizens for the American Agenda, we took it up on ourselves to look into this because we started seeing a problem.
So it all started when you got word that the school was favoring one political candidate over another, the Democrat, which...
Yeah, they were using their server. The taxpayers pay for this. It's not under the Department of Education. It's operated by the University of Arkansas. So that kind of got the ball rolling, and then in the meantime, this issue about favoritism and bullying and other things has been going on for a few years now, kind of under the radar, just among the parents and their kids. And so this was brought to light that all this has been going on. It's kind of been boiling, and then they had a Board of Visitors meeting back on May 13th, and this is when it kind of came to a boil. I had been trying to get statewide media to cover this, the Little Rock stations, and there was one station showed up, videoed the whole thing, and they never ran the story.
Interesting.
So I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to talk about it.
No, absolutely. So tell me about this meeting. I got one perspective. Last week we interviewed State Representative Smith, and he attended that meeting. Apparently, I'm told there was many parents there, and they all wanted to speak about a lot of different issues they were having.
Yes, and I was glad to see Representative Smith show up. I believe he had two parents that were his constituents, and came all the way from Jonesboro down here to attend that meeting. And so, yes, the main thing that I got from the meeting was that the education part, the academic part, is excellent. They're having issues with the social life, or what's called res life, and that's where all the separation is going on, bullying and picking on.
Let me ask you this. So you think
Go ahead.
after they do this privilege walk, where they answer questions like, do you have a 2-parent household, and you know any of the other questions they ask, by the way?
I don't have it right here in front of me, but if your parents were white collar,
Okay.
such as an engineer, doctor, lawyer.
So after that happens and the separation, are they put in a different hallway or on a different floor, or are you just saying there's bullying, meaning I guess, are there more socioeconomically disadvantaged kids and then they bully the ones who are wealthy?
I believe so. And it was reported that the director, Corey Alderdice, he had fired a recruiter. Her name was Valerie Carpenter. And his statement was that he wanted her to lower the standards so they could be, quote, more inclusive, unquote. So where have you heard that term before?
Oh, exactly. So I guess he didn't like some of the demographics. We have a guy who doesn't like the demographics based on the standards, because this is supposed to be an exclusive school. It's supposed to be a school for juniors and seniors and people who are, I'm assuming, more gifted at math and science.
Correct. And what started off as a school for exceptional students has become one, just like many other schools now, to be more inclusive. So these kids that are exceptional or privileged, or whatever term you want to use, they're separated from the ones that are not so exceptional or gifted, or whatever term you want to use.
What kind of bullying are we talking about?
Well, just not allowed to be in the student government. Your name's not, you might be straight A student and capable of leadership roles, but then you're not allowed to. Imagine that happens in Arkansas a lot too, where the right person to run for an office is not given that chance. So that's one way they do it. Another way is by the teachers, not the teachers, the staff. They separate these kids out, and where they're excluded from activities and events that would promote those students to a higher level.
They talk about the privilege walk. I mean, when you say privilege, though, is this based on race at all?
I believe it is, and that's something that I don't know that it can be helped, that some students are not as privileged as others. But I've seen in the past where kids, rise above that, and they're determined to not become or not be ruled by their socioeconomic past.
Mm-hmm. What's the community like? I mean, what are people saying in the community? And I know you've got a lot of state legislators now investigating this. What are you hearing on that front?
Well, we have some here local that are kind of working behind the scene. I don't know what the reason for that is, but I know that they're trying to get things happening. And I know now, I mentioned something the other night to one of the legislators about an audit, not only the joint performance review that Representative Brant Smith is taking on. But I mentioned something to Representative Womack. He's on the audit committee, and he kind of got the ball rolling on that. And I told him, I said, I think, that they should be audited, and due to that, I think Senator Bill Sample was responsible for sending a letter to the Senate Audit Committee, and Senator Rapert got on it. And so after all that, and these issues have been brought forward, they're going to receive a legislative audit, and it will include any nonprofit too. So I think it's going to take time.
Yeah.
But we'll get to the bottom of it.
So the privilege walk, socioeconomic status, some of it is race. Is any of the privilege have to do with sexual orientation?
I believe it does. This is something that a lot of the students even are concerned about. One of the things that was brought to my attention was during an orientation period, one of the parents said Corey Allardyce had mentioned that something about LGBTQ 15 times in 30 minutes, and they felt uncomfortable during that discussion. A lot of these students are segregated into one hallway or one floor, and I don't know that is an issue that ought to be promoted among minors.
Interesting stuff. Okay, so the investigation goes forward. We're talking with Reggie Cowan. He's a resident of Hot Springs, and we've had conversations, Reggie, you and I, off of outside of this particular interview. So I do know what a hot button issue this is. I think the overall thing here, from what we've discussed, is these are political ideologies that are being, it appears to be, forced on these children, and that's what they are. They're children. Mm-hmm. With taxpayer dollars. It's a taxpayer-funded institution. So, if anything, I mean, just hey, you can believe what you want to believe personally. If you're a teacher, I know the teachers are even oppressed in some situations, I'm told as well. They don't think this stuff's good. But the administrators, you got to leave the politics at the door, though. I mean, it's you're there to teach kids math. You're there to teach them science. You're there to teach them arts. But it seems, from what I'm hearing, there's somebody's in a position of power somewhere. And they want, it's almost like they want to punish those kids who do have better circumstances for whatever reason. And that is not only wrong, but it is a political ideology. And it's one that people are debating right now.
You're correct. I believe that the director, Corey Allardyce, he's using his position to promote a liberal agenda.
Yeah. Well, we'll continue to follow it. I'll give you the last word, Reggie, if you have anything else you want to add.
I've had many parents, after this has kind of started, kind of going to the top, if they'll go to the Facebook page, Citizens for the American Agenda, they can leave their comments. I've had alumni, I've been in contact with some of the past students. They said that they care about that school. That's where they lived for 2 years, and they're aware of and upset about some of the situations that are going on. And some of them, their siblings are attending, and it seems like it's getting worse.
Yeah. Well, it's certainly time for the oversight body, the Arkansas legislature, to get involved here, and I'm glad that's finally going to happen.
Me too.
All right. Reggie, appreciate it, sir. Thanks for spending time with us this morning.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, folks.